Man, how long was I out for? Should probably go check and see if it's still there. Yep, it's still there, safe and sound. No one can say I'm not doing my job. Oh, what the? Who left that piece of junk here? It couldn't have been me, I've been asleep all afternoon. I swear to God, Wait, I've seen this before. Oh. Oh, no. We all know Capcom, right? They're all over the gaming industry and have been for many decades. My philosophy with Capcom is that everyone has one franchise of theirs they specialize in. I think there are very few people who love the company and all its games religiously, but everyone has that one Capcom franchise that they have a soft spot for. Whether it's Mega Man, Street Fighter, Resident Evil, Ace Attorney, Dead Rising, etc, etc. For me personally, in recent years, my Capcom franchise of choice has been Devil May Cry.
Let's rock, baby.
And I mean recent. I only got into it last year when I played 5, and it was one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life. But how did we get here? Basically, one day around 1999, Capcom was trying to figure out how to make Resident Evil 4, and some of the developers came up with an idea that they saw as cooler and would stand out compared to the rest of the series. But other people in the company saw it as too much of a departure from the rest of the franchise. But not wanting to lose out on what they saw as an interesting concept, they made it its own thing, Devil May Cry, which released in 2001. 3 more entries, and a decade later, Devil May Cry is a major franchise in gaming and pioneered a genre commonly known as the character action genre. Other notable games in this genre include the Bayonetta series, Nier Automata, and who could forget, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. So everything's good, right? Wrong. At least according to Capcom. In their eyes, the last entry didn't perform as well as it possibly could have. It was also safe to say that the series as a whole was pretty inaccessible by this point. By the 4th entry, both the story and the gameplay were a lot to take in for newcomers, making it hard for the series to gain new fans. What was Capcom's solution? A fresh start for the series. Deliverance, Absolution, and motherfucking Hellfire. Now they wanted the series to appeal to a new, younger, more modern audience compared to the older audience that had come from the installments on the PS2. They decided that they couldn't do it alone, so they got Ninja Theory to develop it. Either that or they couldn't be fucking bothered to do it themselves. Ninja Theory, the people who were going to develop Disney Infinity 2.0 and 3.0, because this game really convinced Disney that they were the right people for the job. I mean, what do you want me to say about this game that hasn't been said already? It is a textbook definition on how to spit on the fanbase that built up your success. Although, in my opinion, we should give it some credit. The argument that the franchise wasn't bringing in new fans is honestly kinda fair. So Capcom was right to do something about it. What they did was awful, but still, this game brought so much controversy that it put a lot of eyes on the franchise. So in a way, it really helped the franchise out in the long run. You know the phrase, X walked so Y could run? Well, in this case, in order for Devil May Cry 5 to soar, DmC Devil May Cry had to first trip over and break its leg. Booting up the game, DmC Devil May Cry. That's the name we're going with? Okay. Before we go any further, I need to highlight just how annoying it was to record footage for this game. You may notice for the first few levels that the view is obstructed because the UI isn't transparent. For some reason this happens when I record it using the game capture mode in Streamlabs, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But for some reason, it caused problems. And I didn't notice it immediately because it looked fine when I was playing it. It was only once I looked back at the footage did I realize the issue. So I switched the Streamlabs mode from game capture to display capture to make sure that what I was seeing was what Streamlabs was seeing. Unfortunately, I had to lower the quality and resolution of the game so that Streamlabs could record it as smoothly as possible. But because the resolution of the game and the monitor were now different, pretty much all of the raw footage of this playthrough came out like this. But whatever, I can fix that in post. This channel has what, 30 subscribers? So the fact that I was able to pull out 1080 footage with 30 frames per second with just a bit of choppy frames should be considered a miracle. Let's start this off.
Should you fail to comply, the collapse of the economy will be on your head. I will make sure that you are stripped of power, shamed, and hated. Is that clear enough for you? Well, Friday it is then. You have a good night, Mr. President.
So like, does this take place in America? It does resemble it in terms of its media, but architecture? It's not exactly one-to-one. Some places look like they belong more in a Mediterranean country rather than the US. So what is this place? I find it funny that we spend the whole game trying to liberate this place when no one even mentions its name. Hey guys, this is me in the editing process right now. And basically, while I was finding images and other media to put into the video, I found this image saying that the city that this game takes place in is called Limbo City. Limbo City. Or as I like to call it, Limbosity. But like, seriously, like I know the people were being mind controlled with the news and the drinks and all that stuff. But did no one look at the name Limbo City and think to themselves, oh yeah, that's a normal name for the place where I live, you know, nothing out of the ordinary there. Like how did no one realize how fucked up this was? Like this is like this it's like putting a bunch of people who forget everything all the time together in one place and calling it Dementiaburg. You know, like it's messed up. It makes no fucking sense, man. Compare that to DmC 5, and trust me, I'll refrain from comparing this game to DmC 5 as much as I can, but this will make sense, so just trust me. In DmC 5, you have the city of Redgrave, which you'll notice looks a lot like London, but while it's modelled after London, it's its own thing, so we don't have to worry about this taking place in our world and the implications that come with that idea. You'll soon realise that this game is trying desperately to make a commentary on society, and yes, dear viewer, it's as bad as you think it is.
Soon I will own everything worth owning. I will control the world through debt. I have absolute power.
The world is at last your bitch, as am I. Nothing left but to grab it by the hair, bend it over, and...
Oh boy, we're really doing this. This is for real.
I will rip open his chest with my bare hands and feast on his beating heart.
Wow, threatening. I feel like I need to explain what's going on here. Basically, this game, in the broad strokes, and I cannot emphasize that enough, is a general retelling of the story of Devil May Cry 1, with some elements from DmC 3 as well. Basically, the story of Devil May Cry 1 is that Dante is the son of Sparda, a demon who previously worked for the Demon King Mundus, before realizing that he's kinda evil, so he betrays him and then goes into hiding, exiled from the demon world, aka the underworld, and lives in the human world. There he meets a human woman, settles down and has 2 kids who are half demon, half human. One of these kids is Dante. Then Sparda disappears for no reason and he's never heard from again. Then Mundus finds where his family was hiding and sends demons to kill them. His mother is killed, his brother is supposedly killed, Dante survives and becomes a demon hunter. In DmC 1, Mundus is planning on breaking through to the human world to take it over. Dante wants to stop him and get his revenge. In this reboot, most of it is the same, except Sparta doesn't just disappear. After Dante's mother is killed, Sparta wipes his son's memories and puts them in hiding before being captured by Mundus. Also, Dante isn't human anymore. At all. He's half demon, half angel. And now Mundus, who looks like a ripoff of Kingpin, has control of the humans with the power of Sprite Cranberry and Fox News. I wish I was kidding. Are we excited? I'm excited.
The demons have been increasing their power for millennia. They're on the verge of controlling mankind. Citizens, we've been kept asleep in a manufactured illusion for too long. We must wake up.
The masked lunatic you saw there claims to represent...
Oh man, that's like... what's it called? Symbolism.
Who are you? What do you want?
You were careless. You left a trail. Now he's on to you.
What are you talking about? Who's on to me?
The hunter demon. He's here. He's dragging you into Limbo.
Demon scum. Shit. Back in Limbo. Bad day for a hangover.
Oh god, please don't tell me you're gonna be like this all game. Alright, finally, getting into the combat. And where's the lock-on? Where's the lock-on? Where's the fucking lock-on? Am I really gonna have to play through this entire game with no way to easily target one enemy at a time? Are you serious? I'm looking it up and apparently it's only in the definitive edition. Great. And before any of you assholes come to me in the comments and say that there is a secret way and that I'm just stupid, if it was important, which it is, lock-on is very important, the game would have taught it to me, but the game didn't teach it to me, so I'm assuming it isn't in the game. I'm not going to be too harsh on the game for this, because I don't think it was a feature of previous games either. But man, the series had been around for 12 years by this point. How had no one realized that we probably needed a lock-on feature? Either this game is stupid, or the entire franchise is stupid. Little thing I want to point out. While I was making this video, I started playing Devil May Cry 1 and 3 via the HD collection. Both of them had lock-on. I don't know if they were features added in the HD re-release or they were there from the start. They certainly look like they were, but yeah, something tells me the rest of the series doesn't have this problem. Moving on, Rebellion feels fine, slick even, but style switching is gone. We'll talk about that when we see its replacement. We get Ebony and Ivory, and they don't feel too bad. Scripted platforming sequences, yeah, we're gonna see a lot of those.
Don't shoot! My name is Kat, I'm not a demon. I'm still in the real world, you're in Limbo.
How come I can see you clearly?
I'm a medium, a psychic. I can phase into Limbo and communicate with you. I can see you, talk to you, but I'm not actually in Limbo with you.
If I pull the trigger?
I'll die.
Why? Why would she die? Isn't the whole point of Limbo that what happens in it doesn't necessarily affect the real world? In the next combat encounter, I actually get hit by the carnival ride. Good to know that's not just a set piece. Nothing's going to make you miss the lock-on more than how many flying enemies there are in this game. There may be more flying enemies in this game than there are in DmC 5. Okay, so it turns out that some of the things going on in Limbo affect the real world, like this Ferris wheel. But that platforming section where the boardwalk collapsed, as far as I'm aware, that remained intact in the real world, so basically there are no rules to Limbo and it just does what it wants.
Not in a million years.
You're right, it'll actually only be 5 years. I have a lot to say about this moment. On one hand, when this game came out, fans of the original series thought that it was all over. They thought they'd be stuck with this idiot until the entire franchise gets discontinued. So to do this, to actively spit in the face of those people while they're already down, not a cool thing to do. But on the other hand, making Dante look more like his original counterpart isn't going to save this fucking game. The boss at the end of the level is pretty generic. You mash Rebellion and avoid his swipes. When he goes on top of the structure, shoot him down, and then just keep going until he's dead. The only reason I nearly died doing this was because he takes a lot of punishment for a first boss, but whatever. I get out of there, first level over. This character, who I'm just gonna call the girl, cause that name is about as interesting as her character, offers to take Dante to her boss, and he agrees for no reason at all.
We have your scent, son of Sparta. Now it is just a matter of time.
Yep, still threatening. So basically what happens next is your standard 2010s plot about how an angsty loner joins this cause and then finds out he's meant for something greater than what he has now, something liberates society from the oppressors and learn the meaning of family along the way. It honestly sounds like the plot of a dystopian teen flick, but they stuff it to the brim with mature themes and references. You see what I mean? The original series never needed to use the W word because it didn't need to. This game needs to constantly be edgy in a futile attempt to keep your attention. But I don't even think it worked a decade ago when it came out, let alone today. You meet this guy Virgil, who shares the name of Dante's nemesis from the original series. But this guy looks nice, so I'm sure he's not gonna betray us. He takes us to some special place, and this is the level where we uncover our backstory. We enter this large room where it takes me 5 minutes to figure out where I'm going. We end up in a room with the portrait of Sparta, and this gives us a new weapon, the Arbiter. And this is where style switching's replacement starts to reveal itself. You need to hold down right trigger in order to use this weapon, and it's decent at stunning enemies the Rebellion can't. There are a lot of secrets in this game that require you to come back after unlocking later abilities, but I'm not playing levels over again. I'm not playing this game more than I have to. At some point I end up in this super Limbo realm where I'm asked to do a platforming challenge. I can now pull things towards me, so that means platforming. After that, some story stuff happens, and then I enter a copper door. You have all these doors that require different kinds of keys scattered throughout the entire game, and this is the only one I ended up doing, because I don't care. Now the flying enemies have shields, making them even more annoying than they already were. Soon, we find a portrait of Eva, Dante's mother, and because in this reboot she isn't human, she has her own angel weapon to give, the Osiris, which is decent at crowd control. The main crux of the gameplay loop here is based around your demon mode, based around your right trigger, and your angel mode, based around your left trigger. You need to use one or the other depending on the enemy or the platforming ring. But an indirect consequence of this is that I start using Rebellion and Ebony and Ivory very rarely. And overall, while I do see what they were trying to do here with balancing your demon mode and your angel mode, in my opinion, it does not hold a candle to the brilliant design of style switching in DmC 4, 5, and technically 3. It wasn't as good in 3 because you couldn't change your style in real time, only between levels and with Divinity Stones, but I digress. Not a bad idea, but not as solid as some of the previous or later games. After that, some more platforming. Oh. Okay, let's use a gold orb, see if that fixes it. Has that intelligence been stolen yet? No, it's still there. The only thing of importance left to do in this mission is another one of those platforming challenges. Now that we have Angel mode, we also have Angel Grapple. Demon Grapple pulls things towards Dante, while Angel Grapple pulls Dante towards it. And honestly, these platforming sections are probably the nicest looking moments of the entire game, with a nice balance of colours without going too far with them. A big problem with Limbo for most of the game is that it is just way too saturated, focusing on one colour way too much, whether it's red, yellow or blue. But when you're in the real world, it looks dull, lifeless and drab. I'm sure this was intentional, highlighting the difference between the oppressed real world and the more sinister, surreal Limbo world, and that's good symbolism. The only problem is that it makes the game look awful. Basically, Dante finds out that Virgil is his twin brother, and now they need to go after Mundus and avenge their parents and free humanity. I'm not going to mention the next level because it's quite literally filler. The only important thing of note is making fun of how Virgil looks like the bowler hat guy from Meet the Robinsons. Now we're heading to a drinks factory to take down a soda brand because drinking it makes you more docile. And would you believe that this level is just filler as well? It's got these shard things that you just shoot at to get rid of. Scary. I think we're all starting to notice that this game has a bit of a tonal problem. And it sucks because it permeates the entire game. For example, let me show you this cutscene from DmC Devil May Cry.
When the people you're supposed to trust most turn out to be scum. Your eyes really do open up to evil everywhere. I took a stand, fought back, killed, no matter the consequences. So I chose my path and I lived by it. And after all that anger, violence, and death, you have to dig deep into your own heart to see if you're still sane, or if you can still call yourself human.
Now let's compare it to a cutscene from DmC 5. I'm not saying you can't have serious stuff in your story, or that DmC can't be serious. It can, although let's be honest, it usually fails. But I'm not taking this seriously because how the fuck am I supposed to?
Told me I was crazy for seeing demons.
Yeah. They tried telling me I was a basket case too.
Wanted to put me on drugs. Said it would make me better. They lied. They just wanted to keep me weak, docile.
Oh my god, game, I get it. Fitter, happier, more productive. I'm not stupid, but could you dial it back a bit, please? I get the feeling that this game thinks I'm a 14-year-old who just realized the world is fucked. Luckily, the next level is pretty interesting. We start by walking through a bunch of hallways in the real world with some dialogue to keep your attention. And then you get sent into Limbo and have to retrace your steps, but now that you're in Limbo, it's much more complex. Neat idea, I won't deny. If you weren't convinced this game had too much swearing before, well, now even Limbo itself is telling me to go fuck myself.
What in the shitting hell is going on here?
Oh, would you look at that? Smartass over here finally realizing he's in a game. Also, did I mention you now have this angel boost thing? Don't worry, the game will remind you in every platforming section you come across. Now it's time for our second boss. Hopefully there's an improvement.
So you must be the secret ingredient.
Who are you?
I'm your prom date, you ugly sack of shit.
You want to kill me? You can't kill me. I'm 1,200 years old.
You don't look a day over 12,000.
You.
You.
Me. One thing I'll say about this fight is that it's very scripted. You have to do certain things to progress the fight in order to add to the spectacle. We go from one platform to another, trying to disconnect it from its tubes. Whatever. We do that a bunch, and I'm getting really tired of this. We do more scripted stuff, and I get stuck here because I don't realize that I need to attack this column to release her grip on it. And boom, second boss down. We get the Erics. Right. Next, we get a scene that I'm not going to show because it's awful. Like, legitimately awful. Don't worry, I'll give you the rundown. So basically, Mundus and his weird lady friend are hugging each other. And then he feels the power of Sprite Cranberry no longer has an effect on the populace. And then he's like, Dante has killed my succubus. He will pay. And his girl is like, why don't you just go and kill him? And he's like, grr, I will. Eventually. Next level, now that we took out the drinks, it's time for us to take out the news. There's not a lot going on here. The Erics is a demonic weapon we can switch out with the Arbiter. And overall, the weapon is basically a standard DmC gauntlet weapon, but it's a bit more heavyweight. So if you've used Ifrit or Balrog, you pretty much know the deal already. Overall, this environment we enter doesn't look bad. It's unique. The upside down world with the rain falling upwards, it's pretty cool. Very blue though. We're making our way to the TV broadcasting tower, but on the way we bump into a demon. A friendly demon named Phineas. Other demons stole his eye and we gotta get it back. We do this by fighting our way into a subway, just barely catching the old 546, and then we do a test to see on how good I am at air combos. The result? Not very. But at least I didn't break through the glass. We then backtrack through the entire level. Not much even happens, it's mostly just walking.
Who's there?
It is I.
Listen, I'm sure my comedy isn't perfect in this video, but as long as it's better than whatever this game is dishing out, I'll consider that a victory. In return for helping him out, Phineas is going to help us out real quick before we continue on. He tells us about how Dante and Virgil aren't the first Nephilim, demon-angel hybrids, and that there used to be a lot of them.
Her name was Asiel, an ancient one. Nephilim, like you.
I didn't know there were others.
The Nephilim were the third race. Sadly, they were hunted down and slain.
Why?
They wielded the power of both angels and demons. But unlike them, the Nephilim could easily cross worlds. They were formidable.
Which made them a threat. Like me.
And like you, they held great potential. What a waste. You want to reach your full potential? Perhaps Asiel holds the key.
We do some tasks before a vision of Dante's mother appears, telling him that he may set out on his own path in life now that he's grown up. Listening to this, he ends his holy crusade and runs for senator, hoping to eradicate the tyranny through peaceful reform. Nah, I'm just kidding, we get Devil Trigger. Ah, Devil Trigger. Alright, this is gonna be interesting. I'm willing to bet money that at least one kid has imagined doing this at school to get back at his bullies. And my heart hopes that at least one kid tried to, because holy shit, that would have been funny as hell. I'll be honest with you, I don't have much footage of me using Devil Trigger, and that is for two reasons. One, I sometimes forget I have it, and two, if I do, it probably doesn't have enough in the gauge. DT builds up way slower in this game than it does in the others. It's not like DmC 1 where you can use it every 2 minutes. I'm guessing it's so that they can make it more special when you do use it. I probably used it a single digit number of times in the entire playthrough. They tried to make up for it by making it really powerful. They immobilize any enemy by suspending them in the air. Okay. The other problem I have with DT is, why is it called Devil Trigger? It's supposed to be a culmination of Dante's power, but in this game, his power doesn't just stem from his devil side, but now also his angel side. So, shouldn't it be called Nephilim Trigger? You guys had a blank slate, you easily could have done it, but no, you had to call it Devil Trigger because that's what it's called in the old games, ignoring the fact that it barely makes sense anymore. Anyway, moving on.
I am no longer suited to violence. I cannot proceed.
Thank you, Phineas.
It wasn't quite a favor. I want to see Mundus destroyed, and I now believe you may stand a chance.
What made you change your mind?
You were right. You're not just like your father. I see your mother in you, too. You want to hit Mundus hard? This is how. Mundus has power almost beyond limit, but he has one weakness.
He has a weakness?
Yes. His mistress, Lilith.
His weakness is that he loves her?
Mundus? Love? No, my friend. Yet, she has recently become the most important thing in creation to him. This is what I have seen. Lilith, his mistress, carries his child, his heir. You want to hurt Mundus? Kill Lilith. Kill the child. Nothing will hurt him more. But be warned, the fury of Mundus is boundless. Many thousands could perish. Good hunting, my master.
Right, so hopefully you now understand why they played that scene before of those two hugging and why it was relevant to include it. Do you? Cause I don't. You could have just told me she was pregnant and I would have been like, yeah, sure, checks out, I believe you. You didn't have to show me them conceiving the child. What the fuck is wrong with this game? So now we know we need to get rid of his successor and that will help us out in the long run. Useful information, honestly. Phineas is probably the one character in the game I don't have any real problems with, although that may be due to how little screen time he gets, meaning he doesn't really have an opportunity to piss me off. But now, it's time to take down Fox News. Using the News UI as an actual environment to platform on is pretty cool. And honestly, this whole boss fight isn't bad at all. One of the best in the game, although the bar isn't exactly high. The one problem I do have with this boss fight is that in order to make him vulnerable, you have these red lights you need to disable. At first I think, oh, I'll use the Arbiter, that'll work, right? No. Turns out you need to use a specific move from a specific weapon, the ground pound move from the Eryx. Couldn't they make it more open-ended and less cryptic as a result? Anyway, I restart the fight knowing that, and then I do the fight and it all goes well.
Breaking news, Bob. You're fired.
Somehow killing the demon Bob Barbas gives us an angel weapon. I don't know how that makes sense, but I'm not complaining because this is probably my favorite weapon in the game. But we'll get to that in a second because right now Virgil and the girl are in danger. Somehow the FBI found out about their base and now they're being swatted.
Make your next move, if you will. You've already lost.
Hi, this is me writing the script. Every time Mundus does this, I just type Mundus threatening because that's all I need to put. It works every time. Alright, it's time for the next level, and honestly, I'm having a little bit of fun. Probably because we now have what I'd consider my favorite weapon in the game, the Aquilia. Remember when I said the Osiris was good at crowd control? Well, about that. This weapon feels more like it belongs in a Koei Tecmo Warriors game than Devil May Cry, but I ain't complaining. You can send a spinning blade that locks onto enemies and stun locks them for around 10 seconds. As you can imagine, this is insanely useful. It means that you could just quickly send a blade to an enemy, focus on another one, and then come back to them ready to go. This makes it almost stupidly easy to single out targets. It is pretty weak, however, but with the amount of range it has, I can understand why. I've noticed as I'm writing this script that I haven't talked much about the enemies and their design, and that's simply because there isn't much to talk about. I mean, look at these two enemies. The only real difference is that one of them has their weak spot on the front, while the other has the weak spot on their back. If there is one enemy I remember, it's the witches, specifically how annoying they sound. As for level design, it's pretty standard. Arena, hallway, sometimes some platforming, nothing offensive, that's what I'll say. There is one area in this level which is purposely a bunch of branching paths with dead ends, but most of them do have secrets, so that helps it not feel so insulting. At the end of this level, we have our first fight with what I think is called a Dream Runner. Basically, you need to fight them Virgil style, and by that I mean dodging their attacks until they give you an opening to exploit. It's a term I named after Virgil because it's pretty much his bread and butter, but I've seen it in other games such as Ganondorf and Tears of the Kingdom. This guy is pretty basic. He's pretty much Virgil's first fight in DmC 3, but way less cool. This is actually the last I'll mention him because you do fight him a few more times, but the fights don't really change and nothing really comes of it. I once heard an interesting theory that the Dream Runner was secretly Virgil testing Dante's ability, but that probably isn't true. In the next level, we find out Virgil and the girl are alive, and good for them. The girl was literally all Dante was talking about in the last level.
Cat! Nice work, Cat. Hey! Cat! Are you there? Cat! Are you here?
Also, I'm not going to show it, but in the last level, the text that appears on the walls sometimes called her some very sexist, derogatory terms, which I'm sure has aged well. For the first part of this next level, we need to help the girl make her way to Virgil. She's in the real world and you're in Limbo.
I spray, you bring the roof down.
Oh come on, how hard would it be to make the animations sync up? Most of this level is just do the devil pull thing at the right time. And it's not hard. Things change, however, as we enter the room Virgil is in. He's in Limbo with Dante, however he's behind a magic wall which protects him, aka an excuse for him to continue doing fuck all. And for the next 5 minutes, it's basically just an extended fight in this big circle. Cool. Dante and Virgil escape and the girl gets captured. At this point, it's clear that Virgil does not value human life. Either that or he's really fucking incompetent. He finds out about the whole kill Mundus's child plan and thinks that's the next move. But Dante convinces him that they should instead capture the demon lady and trade her for the girl. And so, it is with great disappointment that I have to announce that this character, who I hoped would have zero plot relevance, now has an entire level dedicated to her. Hooray.
You're not on the list.
I am now.
I don't even know why Virgil isn't joining Dante this time. The last few times he had excuses, but what the fuck is he doing right now that's more important than this? We're in a nightclub owned by the demon lady, and within about 5 seconds we get sent into Limbo. Oh, how I've missed this place. There isn't much here that we haven't seen before except you needing to complete fights within a time limit. which really isn't challenging as long as you're even slightly efficient. The saturation of the lighting may have looked cool at the time, but it has not aged well, let me tell you. And at this point, I really feel like I'm starting to repeat myself, probably because this game is all out of tricks. After a while, we finally get to the next boss. The Demon Lady is going to defend herself using her child. Now, how is she going to do that if the child is unborn? Well, about that.
Been looking for a chance to unwind.
This fight is fine. I had to restart because I thought this red icon was for the RX when actually it was supposed to be for the grapple. I don't bother remembering these icons, all I know is that blue equals angel and red equals demon. But on the second try I was pretty alright, no major issues.
Get up. I'm not gonna kill you or Mundus' spawn. I'll let you both live if you do exactly as I say.
I will. I swear. I'm nothing without this brat.
Now pull yourself together.
So, now we've captured the Demon Lady and Mundus agreed to swap her for the girl. The deal is going through, everything is going fine, until Virgil feels the urge to do an impromptu abortion. Guy looks nice, so I'm sure he's not gonna betray us. Apparently, that was all a little too intense for our boy Mundus, so he releases all the energy he built up from the Sprite Cranberry. You know, all the timed platforming sections you've been doing throughout this entire game? Well, this mission is just those. Only those, nothing else. They're not much harder than anything else you've done until this point. But hey, quicker end to the level means we're one step closer to ending this game.
Just like your father. Too big for your fucking boots. Me, a god. Versus you, a piece of shit.
Mundus, threatening. You know, I'm getting kind of emotional. I'm gonna miss these. Alright, we're getting to the end of the game, one of the final missions, and guys, I don't know if you're ready to hear this, but this mission has some of the best presentation and art direction in the entire game. I mean, the bar wasn't exactly high, but damn, this really impressed me when I first saw it. So basically, the girl used her insider knowledge to make a plan of attack for Mundus' tower. She explains it to you as you go through the level, step by step. The environment even changes to this chalkboard aesthetic. It's really cool. It makes you feel like you're executing a complex plan when you're actually being told it as you go through. One of the only times the unique art direction of this game actually works. Good stuff. As for the level itself, it's whatever. There are annoying laser traps and fighting is getting really monotonous. Virgil gives me a weapon that looks like a regular tool outside of Limbo, but like, this is one of the final levels. It's a little late to be sneaky, Virgil. We're in the main villain's tower.
Kablooey!
Oh hey, I grabbed one of those keys. I never said I was going to use it. Next level. I don't even know where we are anymore. We have to play red light, green light when crossing between platforms. And that's all there is to say about it. I mean, it looks nice, but damn am I not tired of playing this game. And writing the script. And voicing it. This is the final normal level. After this, it's just bosses. We have to unlock this gate from 4 different places, letting us do it in whatever order you want. Which doesn't mean much because they all look the same from the start, so you just choose one at random.
We made it. We made quite the team.
I'm stronger.
I'm smarter.
I'm better looking.
Mundus is behind the vault door. Let's not keep him waiting. And I got a bigger dick.
One easy puzzle later and we get the gate open. And sweet Jesus, finally time for this to be over. So basically, Mundus starts beating the shit out of Dante's ass while Virgil just casually takes his time. Maybe it's just the posing, but it looks like all of his movements are exaggerated and closing the Hell Gate takes no effort at all. Meanwhile, Mundus is killing Dante the same way he killed his mother. How do I know this? Because they're flashing images of his mother's death during the scene. Because I guess subtlety is dead. Then Virgil slowly walks up to Mundus and stabs him. A few scripted sequences later, because goddamn it wouldn't be the finale of this game without them. And then finally, the fight with Mundus is an exact copy of the Succubus fight. I'm serious. Dodging attacks, moving between 4 different platforms, it's the exact same. I guess it was a little harder, but damn, the big bad of this entire game, and his boss fight is pretty much a copy of a previous one. So this is what the GOP are worried about. They're scared we're gonna find out about the demons. It makes so much sense now. And so, our brave heroes stare out into the new world in which they can rebuild.
For all to see. Revolution is in the air.
I never believed I'd live to see this day.
Just the beginning of the end for the demons. Mankind would be free.
Yes. Free from the demons. The path is clear for us to rule.
Who could have seen this coming? The guy who was Dante's nemesis in the original series. Turns out he's a bad guy and pretty much has the exact same ideology as Mundus, deeming humans unfit to rule themselves. The problem is that this dumbass just assumed that Dante would get on board with it despite the fact that he never once told him that this was the plan, to take over once Mundus was gone. I know he was playing his cards close to his chest the whole game, but Jesus, it feels like his entire character changed in a matter of moments.
It was his freedom we were fighting for, not yours.
Don't be so simplistic. Humans are frail. They're like children. They need protection. Not just from others, but from themselves. We, you and I, have saved them.
You and I saved them?
Who else?
A human.
Cap was useful, but...
Useful?
Get f***ed. The guy you looked up to your entire life sees you as nothing more than a tool. It really feels like his entire demeanor changed in the last 2 minutes. The only real clues we had that he'd be evil was that 1, he was willing to let the girl die, and 2, he didn't hesitate to kill Mundus' son. But nothing alluded to him seeing humans as nothing more than clueless children. Of course, Dante doesn't agree with this and Virgil is surprised. Even though he's seen humans like the girl, in fact it was pretty much exclusively the girl, influencing Dante out of his selfish nature. So it finally comes down to this. The end of the game. 2 sons of Sparta about to duke it out for the fate of humanity. Because if there's one constant in the Devil May Cry games, it's that you will always need to fight Virgil. Now I go into this fight with the same mentality as every Virgil fight. Dodge his attacks, let him do his thing, and then when he reveals an opening, exploit it with a combo. You never get anywhere trying to make your own opportunities. You need to let him direct the battle. And in this fight, that mentality helps me out, as I expected. What I didn't expect for is his animations to look so weird. I generally whittle him down and soon he's near defeat. He brought out his doppelganger to heal himself, and for the life of me I couldn't figure out how to finish him off. It was so bad that I had to pause the fight and look it up online. Turns out that this fight ends with the scripted sequence, and you need to go into Devil Trigger and then ignore his doppelganger and hit him. Try to hit him outside of Devil Trigger and the doppelganger will just block you. But because you're in DT, he's just like, nah, f it, you're on your own. Because giving players their own final move to come up with. It's for the sake of the fucking spectacle. We're done. It's over. Dante tries to kill Virgil. The girl convinces him not to. Virgil leaves. Dante's eyes turn red. The credits are in Arial. We're done. What I'll say is this. I don't play bad games a lot. That may change with time, but rarely do I ever seek out and willingly experience a bad game. And so while I might be harsh with this game, I don't think it's near the point of infamy. The gameplay is fine, enjoyable even, but the story and the writing are what make it so unbearable. It's not a terrible game, but as much as it wants to prove otherwise, it isn't a Devil May Cry game. Especially because this wasn't the end of the story. This wasn't the end of Devil May Cry. 2018's Devil May Cry 5 came out to incredible reviews and became the best-selling installment in the franchise, proving that all you needed was refreshed but familiar gameplay, a tangible connection to the rest of the franchise, good marketing, and a pinch of nostalgia pandering, just for good measure. Would we have gotten a game as good as Devil May Cry 5 if it weren't for this game stumbling? Who knows? I'll leave that for you to decide. We only have one more thing to look at. And no, it's not Virgil's downfall. We're not doing Virgil's downfall, fuck you, no. Something much more special.
Tú debes de ser el ingrediente secreto.
¿Quién eres?
Soy tu cita para el baile, saco de mierda. Fallaste. Mi nombre, por cierto, es Dante.
Dante. Hijo de Esparta. Y de Eva. La
Sí, pero llámame Dante, el exterminador de demonios. ¿A que suena bien?
Absolutely brilliant. Perfect. And so while Dante the Demon Hunter in his game has a 4 out of 10, El Exterminador de Demonios has a 10 de 10. And so that's it. If I wanted to make another video on Devil May Cry, I'd have a great time doing it because this is the only bad one. This is the one everyone hates. It's not like there's another game in this series that's worse than this one, right? Right? I've got something else in mind for next time. How long am I going to be down here?